And now for our next news special report.
In an era where global tensions run high and political missteps could tip the scale towards an unprecedented conflict, startling revelations emerge. Former President Donald Trump breaks his silence, warning of a future darker than anything we've faced before, the ominous shadow of World War III. As Israel becomes the focal point of international scrutiny, our republic finds itself at a crucial crossroads with choices and consequences that could alter the course of history. Tonight, we dive deep into these urgent developments and their profound implications for every American. Stay with us till the very end, where we unearth ancient prophecies that seem chillingly relevant today. You don't want to miss our final thought. The tumultuous events in the Middle East are becoming impossible to ignore, especially when our former Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump, drops a bombshell. It happened in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, amidst a sea of supporters hanging on to his every word. Trump paints a picture that many of us might have thought was relegated to history books, a world on the brink of its third global conflict. His assertion, supported by recent events, posits a grave reality. The aggressive actions in Israel, led by a militant group, Hamas, are not just isolated incidents in a distant land, but potential precursors to a more significant worldwide catastrophe. He says we are in very, very grave danger of having a World War III. That's what he declared. The emphasis on the word very twice punctuates the urgency of his message. It wasn't just a plea to his base or a political talking point. It was a clarion call to every American citizen to wake up and pay attention. He paints a dire scenario of this impending conflict. And according to Trump, this wouldn't be a regular war where tanks go back and forth firing rounds across a border. No, he warned this would be a war of obliteration. Watch.
Very serious. We are in very, very grave danger of having a World War III. And this will be a war of obliteration. This will not be a war with, I say, army tanks going back and forth shooting at each other. This is the real deal. And we have a man that he can't even walk off a stage. He walks off a stage. He finishes his speech. He looks, oh, well, he can't find. He has no idea. You know, there's always a stair there, a stair here. You could even walk off the front, jump or something, do something. He usually walks to the back into a wall. Yeah, there's a wall there. He walks right into a wall. Can't walk off the stage, can't put two sentences together, and yet he's negotiating with President Xi of China.
So why is this prediction coming now? And why from Trump? The former president's criticism of the current administration offers some clues. His candid words on President Biden's physical state during speeches were not just jabs at a political rival, but a genuine concern about the leadership of our nation. He can't even walk off a stage. That's what he said, a clear jab at Biden's age and his vigor. Beyond the digs, the question arises, how can a leader struggling with such basics handle the intricate web of global politics and diplomacy? The answer seems clear when you look at the ground realities. The recent and swift incursion by Hamas into Israel resulted in the tragic loss of life of over 1,000 Israelis, and more pertinently, for Americans, at least 9 U.S. citizens. Now I believe the number is up to 14. With reports suggesting Americans have also been taken hostage by Hamas, this crisis deepens. As if this isn't alarming enough, there's evidence pointing to Iran directly backing Hamas. With ties between Iran and the U.S. already strained, this raises serious concerns. More shocking revelations emerged directly from the top Biden spokesman, John Kirby, who indicated that multiple Americans have been killed and remain unaccounted for in the conflict. The gravity of the situation is undeniable. Watch.
We are also very, very closely coordinating with Israeli officials about the status of American citizens. We sadly know that a few have been killed. We also know that there are many more that are unaccounted for. We don't know where they are. We don't know what condition they're in. And nothing's more important to us than their safety and security. So we're going to stay lashed up with Israeli officials on that as well.
The international scene provides some unsettling answers. Unconfirmed yet widely circulating reports suggest that Iran has played a significant role in supporting Hamas' full-scale aggression. This isn't the first time Iran finds itself in the crosshairs of controversy with the U.S. Remember the U.S.-Iran deal? That agreement unfroze a massive $6 billion in assets for Iran, ostensibly for humanitarian purposes. Yet many now wonder whether these funds have indirectly fueled the current conflict. The connection between U.S. money, Iran, and Hamas-led actions is a treacherous triangle that needs more scrutiny. But don't just take our word for it. Senator Ted Cruz, not one to mince words, provides a scathing critique of the Biden administration's policy. He stated that the Hamas-led aggression is nothing more than a grotesque act of war. His anger is palpable, especially when he alludes to the fact that the Biden administration was, in essence, funding this act of war by sending billions to Iran. Watch.
The nation of Israel is at war. The attack that has unfolded in the last 24 hours is the worst attack on Israel in over 50 years. We've seen over 300 Israelis murdered. We've seen over 1,500 Israelis wounded. We've seen over 3,000 missiles fired by Hamas into Israel. This is a grotesque act of war, and I'll tell you, watching the videos of what is happening, these Hamas terrorists, they're targeting civilians, they're murdering women, they're murdering children, they're murdering the elderly, they're firing into a rock concert they just fired randomly. They are brutally raping women, and they're brutally raping children, and they're dragging them back to Gaza. These are horrific war crimes. And look, what is infuriating is this attack was paid for by billions of dollars that Joe Biden sent to Iran, sent to the Ayatollah. In recent weeks, Biden sent over $6 billion to the Ayatollah. Hamas is a proxy for Iran. And in the last 2 years, Biden has allowed the Ayatollah to make over $40 billion. Not only that, the Biden administration sent millions of dollars directly into Gaza. They knew that the money going into Gaza would fund Hamas in acts of terrorism. They actually got a waiver from U.S. anti-terrorism laws to send that money into Gaza. I led a group of senators calling on the administration to stop sending money to these terrorists. Well, the terrorists that Joe Biden is funding, they're the ones right now murdering Israelis, raping Israelis, targeting children. This is grotesque. And I got to say tonight, Brian, it is important that the people of Israel understand America stands with you. We need a president of the United States who stands up and says, we stand unequivocally with the state of Israel. This act of war, this act of terrorism, it is horrific, it is barbaric, and we stand with civilization against barbarism and terror and evil.
In these turbulent times, when the world feels unpredictable, one thing you shouldn't have to worry about is a good night's sleep. Just as a republic needs strong leadership to ensure peace, our bodies require quality sleep for strength and resilience, and that's where Sleep Miracle Plus comes in. Recommended by experts at the Sierra Integrative Medical Center, this blend is like a peace treaty for your body and mind. It eases you into sleep, ensuring you wake up feeling rested and rejuvenated. It's the Restful solution for these restless times. Hurry over to GetSleepMiracle.com for a special offer, 50% off with auto ship and a buy one, get one free promotion. So now where does this leave us, the citizens of this great republic? Under the Trump administration, many would argue that there was a semblance of peace in the Middle East, primarily seen in the historical signing of the Abraham Accords. That era represented a strategy of strength and peace through those Abraham Accords. They were a testament to this approach, a peace deal that few thought was possible. Yet here we are, mere months later, with the region in turmoil. The recent developments beg the question, was the so-called peace just a temporary lull before the storm? The answer, unfortunately, seems to be leaning towards the latter. The Biden administration's approach to the Middle East, some critics argue, lacks the assertiveness and directness that Trump's diplomacy had. Instead of peace through strength, the current strategy appears to be one of appeasement and reactive measures. And amidst the escalating tension, President Biden's response, or the lack thereof, raises eyebrows. On Monday, when the world needed leadership amidst the potential of a nuclear conflict, Biden chose to remain absent. Top spokesman John Kirby filled the void, appearing on Fox News, but rather than addressing the imminent threats from Hamas and the rising tensions on the Lebanon border with Hezbollah terrorists, the discussion took a bizarre turn. Kirby, representing the Biden administration, declared climate change as a more significant existential threat than even a nuclear war, leaving Fox News host Martha McCallum and many viewers taken aback. Watch this.
I want to play this soundbite for you that is just last month in Vietnam and ask you if this still holds for the president. Watch.
The only existential threat humanity faces, even more frightening than a nuclear war, is global warming going above 1.5 degrees in the next 10 years.
Given all the nuclear players in these two areas where we are now engaged on, does the president stand by that comment?
Absolutely, he does. Climate change is an existential threat. It actually threatens and is capable of wiping out all human life on Earth over time. I mean, I don't know how more existential you can get to that, but that doesn't mean that we walk away from our obligations, our national security interests in very dangerous parts of the world.
John,
You mentioned
he said it was more frightening than a nuclear war. Is that it's more frightening than a nuclear war in this moment?
The president believes wholeheartedly that climate change is an existential threat to all of human life on the planet. That's just science. That's a fact, Martha. But it doesn't mean that we turn our back on the other challenges facing this country and our allies and partners around the world.
Wow. And while international conflicts often seem distant, the repercussions are closer than we think. Global economies, including ours, are tightly intertwined. A major conflict in one part of the world can send shockwaves across global financial markets. Our republic's economy, jobs, and daily lives are influenced by these events. Furthermore, the safety of American citizens, both home and abroad, is at risk. The news of American hostages and the tragic loss of American lives underscores this. We must also consider the long-term effects on our military personnel deployed in these regions and the mental and emotional toll on their families. The situation in the Middle East, especially concerning Israel and Gaza, isn't just another news headline for us. It's a direct reflection of our nation's leadership. The decisions made at the highest level and their long-term implications for every American. The prediction of World War III is not just a doomsday scenario, but a possibility we must consider and act upon. As the world seemingly spirals into chaos and uncertainty, it's hard not to recall the words of Jesus Christ, who once spoke of birth pains, signaling the end times. Many believers see the current events as harbingers of the prophesied Battle of Armageddon, but amidst the fear and trepidation, there is an eternal beacon of hope. For it was also said, when these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. In this moment of global crisis, let these words serve as a reminder that while battles may rage and nations may falter, there is a greater narrative at play. In the face of adversity, we're called not to despair, but to stand steadfast, look upward, and embrace the promise of a brighter, eternal dawn.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now keep up your quest for truth with this next news report. And if you found our channel enlightening, join the millions who agree with you. Tap subscribe. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.